So guys, it's Gaz at Fermented World, and today I'm going to be brewing a Better Brew IPA. Now this is a really cheap kit. I started off using these. There is nothing wrong with using these. These are really good quality and cheap as chips. But as always, I'm going to mess with it. Now, quite a while ago now, would have been last year, probably, I can tell you exactly actually, 29th of July 2021, I made a beer, the third incarnation of a beer, and it just kept getting better and better and better. I was using Centennial hops, which is called Super Cascade, I think, as well, or is it Super Mosaic? I think it's Cascade, and it just gives an abundance of flavour in the beer. It's bloody amazing, and it's one of those hops that you can really pick out as well. So I've done the boil. It's going to get transferred into here now. We've got this mesh thing here, just stops all the hops from floating around inside and then getting stuck in the bottle thing when we're doing the bottling. Be careful because this is going to be bloody hot, and we want it to go in there as well as we can. And try not to burn ourselves on the pan. Now, some of that has gone in there, but you know, it's going to happen. If we can save the majority of it from going in, that just makes life a little bit easier. And we're going to put the rest of the gloopy gloop in there. Now this is a hell of a lot of hops for a 23 litre batch. It is a hell of a lot of hops. And this is only the hop boil. This isn't even the dry hops. So, yeah, so there's 175 grams of hops just popped in there now, which was on a boil. 100 grams of it was on a boil for 1 hour, and then 75 grams of it was added after 30 minutes. Made a little press out of a tin of tuna, very handy. Gets all the hoppy juices out, as where before they'd all just be wasted. So we want to press that out now, get all the lovely juices out. Righty ho. Got the hoppy water in there, which is what we're going to use for our start water when we add the liquid malt extract. So with this recipe, I will be using it's on the wrong page, so the date I might have given you might be wrong as well. It's on the wrong page because I was looking at me. It was before them. Bear with me. Always prepared, you see. So this was the 27th of August 2020, sorry. So quite a while ago now. I used 400 grams of Brew Enhancer, 400 grams of Brewing Sugar, and 400 grams of brown sugar. Why, you ask? Well, a late friend of mine, he used to make homebrew, and what they used to do is they'd wash the bottles with washing up liquid, straight out the shed, covered in cobwebs and spiders and God knows what, and they'd bottle it and they didn't care. And they used this. Now, my friend was 75 last year when he passed away. No, 65? Might have been 65. Who knows? Anyway, it was really old. And they used brown sugar, so it gives it extra flavour. This brew that I did, that however many years ago, in 2020, it was bloody awesome. It was one of the best brews I've ever done whilst messing with it. So we're going to add this liquid malt extract into the mix there. It's got a nice little ring pull on it. Have some hot water on hand as well to swizzle this through afterwards, make sure the yeast isn't attached, and then that's just going to come out gungy. Now I could have and should have probably put this in a sink of hot water, but I've had quite a busy morning with doing all this crap, labelling some mead, getting that bottled off and sent to the store. But here's a funny thing as well, while this is pouring in. I might have to stop production of mead because I'm actually running out of space for it. The downstairs bathroom is just covered. It's like all over the bloody place. One wall is just covered with homebrew bottles, which has now got a Turkish Delight Stout conditioning in it, and mead, just mead. I think I'm on my 6th or 7th mead now, and each one I get about 4 litres, so yeah, it's a lot of bottles. Come on, let's just get this out, gush it in. Oh. Seal that back up. You mix that in then to your hot water that you put in with the hoppy water. So you don't normally get the hops with these brews. These brews are already hopped. With Mangrove Jacks you get some dry hops to lob in after, which I'll be doing at about day 7 when this is finished fermenting, past down to 1.025. That's when you add your dry hops, which gives it aroma. So boiling the hops releases the hop oils and the alpha acids, and it gives it a bitterness. When you dry hop, it gives it aroma and sometimes a bit of flavour as well, I believe. Don't quote me on the flavour bit, but I'm pretty sure it does. Now another homebrew kit, if you're just starting out, if you've heard of a brewery called Tiny Rebel, check out their Kutch kit that's done by Munton's Malt. Oh my days, absolutely smashing. It's so bloody cool. Right, so that's mixing in nicely now. I think the postman's just been. Make sure that that's all dissolved, make sure there's no gunky bits. Right, cool. So that's that for now. Now I need to weigh out, the kettle's nearly done, so I might as well do this. I'll be back in a second once I finish putting this tinsy little bit. That's back and in there, and flipping burnt myself, so be careful when you're using hot water. Right. So I've used these kits loads, well, 3 times I've used the Better Brew kits. Just this one is the one I've used, the IPA, because I kept repeating the same brew and changing things and just seeing what the difference was until I got to 3.0. Now this is 3.01. It's exactly the same brew, I'm not changing anything, but I just want to see if it's consistent and it tastes the same as it did, or as we remember me and my buddy drinking it. Now we're going to weigh out some brewing sugar. Once I cut the lid off this, kids have had the bloody scissors again, so I'm going to have to use these. Might leave these in my little brewing cupboard actually, so the kids can't get at them. Right, so this is Brew Enhancer, not Brewing Sugar, sorry. And we are going to use 400 grams of this. So you get your scales, and you put in 400 grams. Now, I'm not one that's like on the nail. I'll be like as near as bloody damn it. Will do fine for me. 396. There you go, 400. And then what you want to do is fold this over and wrap it up in an elastic band, and that will keep that ready for your next brew. So we're going to add this bit by bit because this stuff clumps up quite a lot. So as we're stirring, we're going to be stirring it in. As we're pouring that in, your Brew Enhancer's going in, and it's just going in bit by bit. We stir that in, then we add some more. Kind of smells a little bit like what's that drink? Is it Ovaltine? Because it's maltodextrous, which is like a malt. It's sugars derived from malt. So yeah, I think Ovaltine, or is it Horlicks? I can't think now. Not sure. But we get all that mixed in. The brewing sugar is easier because it doesn't clump up, it just goes in and dissolves. Same with the brown sugar, but this stuff does kind of clump up, and there's a couple of clumps there. They do break down, but it's just nicer to get them all in without having to beat the clumps up after. Going alright. Mix it in, and then we are going to add the brewing sugar, which is just the normal dextrose. Now, Brew Enhancer gives you a better mouthfeel and a better head retention, so there'll be a nicer head on it for longer. I don't tend to use Brew Enhancer when I'm using the Mangrove Jacks kits. They seem pretty good anyway, so they've probably got a bit of it in with the mix. But I do use their liquid malt as well instead of brewing sugar. No particular reason, I just tried it and preferred it. Just seem to get better results. You can even use normal sugar, but you lose quality, and you can have like a chemically taste if you do. Right, that's that mixed in now. So now we're going to add brewing sugar. And all this stuff was sourced from eBay. If you want to know where, I can tell you, just drop a comment and I'll send you the link to the seller that I bought them from. Apart from that, which is the brown sugar, which was from Co-op, which is fair trade, I'll have you know. So now we're going in with the brewing sugar. Brewing sugar is it's just sugar basically, but it's more fine. It's less complex. It's a lot more powdery. So I'm going to have to do 300 and then another 100 because it's very, very fine, and it jug's not just that little bit too small. I think I've done too much. Can I put it back in, please? It don't have to be exact, but if you're going to do it, try do it properly. And we'll fold that over and we'll get some laggy bands on that shortly. Move that out of my way, that can go there. Don't need that at the moment. So that's that in there. I'm going to get some hot water to rinse this out with actually in a second. Because I want all of the sugars that are in there because they matter. Just pop the yeast out of the way. So brown sugar, I don't really need to weigh this because I know it's a 500 gram bag. So that can go straight in. Like that. Brown sugar just dissolves just as easy as any other sugar. It just gives it that kind of like a, what is it, like a caramel or licorice kind of flavour to it. Or at least a scent anyway. So let's get this going. We don't want all of that to be dissolved. We don't want no chunky bits or anything like that. Near as damn it. Give it a stir. Now I can feel the graininess at the bottom. So we're going to stir all that in and possibly add some more water to it to help that dissolve. So yes, that is exactly what I'm going to do. And that way we can help that sugar to dissolve more. Because sugar's got an what's it called, a saturation point, I think. And that's what it's called. So after a certain while, you can't put any more sugar in a certain amount of liquid without the sugar not being able to dissolve, which is what's happened here. We didn't have enough water in there for the amount of sugar. Because normally you only put 100 grams of brewing sugar in, but we've got 400 grams of one, 400 grams of another, and 500 grams of another. So, you know, we are looking at a considerable amount extra. But your Brew Enhancer, because it's maltodextrose, it's got some of it that's actually still malt. So it's actually unable to be fermented. So it's what just sits there and gives you that body and that thickness and mouthfeel and that. Yeah, I can't feel no grittiness now at all. I think we're done. Right, so I'm going to fill this up with water up to the 23 litre mark. Everything else has been put in that it's going in. And it's just sort the temperature out, ready to pitch the yeast. At the moment it's too hot, but once we've added some more cold water it should be perfect. So I'll be back. That's the water in, a bit quicker than normal. Now we're going to add loads of air. So when I tip the water in, I tip it up from quite a great height, which just oxygenates the water. So I'm still going to add more air because it needs the oxygen to be able to germinate with the yeast, for it to propagate or whatever it's called. And that's gone down to a perfect temperature as well. It's 22. You don't want to pitch your yeast above 25 for a beer. That's just like it's just a rule that, you know, you can, but you risk killing the yeast. So always below 25. And just beat as much air into this as you can, changing directions, getting a nice lick of foam on the top. And if you're a weed like me, you'll have to change directions on change arms. I'm going to say that's that done. Now, we're going to take a hydrometer reading and make a note of it. So I'm going to get my little book, my book of wisdom. It's actually called Dad's Pad, so the kids didn't nick it and start doodling in it. Instead of Pucker Pad, it's Dad's Pad. It's not Pucker's, it's mine, and I shall defend it. So we're going to make a note of what it's called, which is Knackers Yard 3.1. Check again the temperature. That's at 22 degrees. That's happy. I can do that. Happy days. But we're going to take the hydrometer reading, like I said. Getting ahead of myself. Just get so excited. So, why do we take a hydrometer reading? You may already know, and I may have already explained in another video, but if this is the first video you've seen, you might not already know. The reason why we take a hydrometer reading is so that we can tell how much alcohol's in once it's finished fermenting. So, let's have a look. 46. Original gravity 1.046, which is a little bit less than the first one I did actually. So maybe I did put more sugar in last time, or maybe it's just not dissolved some of the sugars. I don't know, but that's what it's reading at, and so that's what it is. Yeah, this has been sanitized, so that's going back in there. Always wash your kit out as well straight away after you finish using it, otherwise it just gets covered in sticky icky. Now, I know it's supposed to say beer yeast, but it says bee yeast, so some weird strange thing might happen to this with me bee yeast. Right, skizzers. Snip, 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 snip. Open your packet out. Try not to get your fingers in there because you don't want to touch it. Evenly sprinkle it all over the top here. What this is then going to do is it's going to split, double up, get climatized, see what it's got to contend with, create a colony, and then it's going to kick some ass on that sugar. It's going to turn all that sugar into lovely alcohol. So let's get this, and we're just going to mix that in gently because we don't want it to burg up on the sides. We've already added the oxygen that it needs. We just want to mix it all in now. Get it going down. And then it'll just settle to the bottom, start doing its thing. I don't like the clumps of yeast, they bother me. I call them yeast bergs. Crikey, it's 12 o'clock already. Half of the day's gone just doing this. Right then, that is pretty much a wrap. We put the lid on, we attach an airlock, and within 24 hours, if the yeast is happy, we'll see positive pressure. Put the lid on. I don't know if you can see this, but on the top of this lid it says Knackers Yard, my friend's name, and then the date he died. And I dedicated the Knackers Yard brew to him because the day before he passed away, it was a little joke that I had with him, and yeah, that's how I remember him. So this is another homage to my dear friend John. And the bucket's quite old, it's had quite a few brews in, so sometimes it doesn't lock properly. Attach your airlock. Like so. Bring that back up actually a little bit. And there you go. Hopefully within 24 hours that starts kicking up a fuss, and we'll get some positive pressure in here. In 7 days time we'll be back to dry hop it with the rest of the hops, which is about 150 grams I think. Pretty much it. Done for the day. This should be a lovely IPA with plenty of hoppy notes. Adios.